Welcome to the introductory video on my Break My 320 series. Basically, this is a series of videos where I will log my experiences firing this gun until something breaks. I will not be, however, treating this gun like garbage. I won't be throwing it in any rivers or not ever oiling it or anything like that. What I'm basically going to do is shoot it 500 rounds a week using steel and brass cased ammunition. Cleaning it every 500 to 1,000 rounds until something breaks. Now, I will do appropriate maintenance during this period. I will change out the recoil spring at the appropriate intervals, but other than that, I'm basically going to fire the gun until it breaks. I do a series of drills every week, holster drills, shoot on the move drills, El Presidente drills, etc. Basically, real shooting drills from the holster, where the magazines will be dropped in the dirt and everything else, and it will be treated like a regular gun, but just at an accelerated rate. I will note anything interesting that's happened during the period. I will note any characteristics that I find unusual or extraordinary about the gun during this period, and essentially it'll just be a series of data points for anybody who's interested in this pistol. The pistol is the SIG 320. I think everybody's fairly familiar with it at this point. This gun's been around in one form or another for quite a while. There was the SIG 250, which is basically the same gun, or a very similar gun, except hammer fired. SIG got on the striker bandwagon at some point and basically decided that they were going to change the primer striker from the primer ignition mechanism from a hammer to a striker, because that's what everybody wanted, and that's what we've got. I've now at this point fired 1,000 hold up, let me see, I've fired 1,276 rounds through the pistol. I fired Blazer brass, I fired Blazer aluminum, Monarch steel, Monarch aluminum, Federal HST, and gold dots. All of which function fine, but I did have, just today, one malfunction, a failure to extract. Very early on in my shooting, probably the first mag or two, I had a failure to extract. There was another round still in the magazine, but there was a unextracted case in the chamber. That was very early on in my shooting. I fired at least 3 more boxes of ammunition through the gun without doing anything to it, and it functioned fine. I've had a very similar malfunction in a Beretta 92G brig tack that Wilson Combat put together with the same ammunition, so I wasn't too worried about it, and I'm still not. But that'll be the kind of thing that I will note while I'm firing it. I have 2 magazines that came with the gun. I've marked them because I do have newer magazines, but I've marked them, and I'm basically going to be using these same magazines until something fails. These obviously will be another point. This will obviously be something else that could fail on it. Now, if these fail, I would not stop the test. I would just replace the magazines, and that would be an interesting thing to note. As far as the gun itself, the trigger is about 7 pounds, 7.2 pounds. It's listed as 5.5 to 6.5 pounds. I do not find it to be that. When I first got this gun, it had a strange double-click reset, which is common in these pistols. That has gone away. It went away almost probably in the first 100 to 200 rounds. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this is another basically brand new SIG 320. It's a TAC Ops model, but otherwise the very same. If you listen, you can see what I'm talking about. When you press the trigger back, you've got your initial click, and then it's one of those things that I think in a gun shop might be disconcerting. Now, anyone who's shot a lot would realize you would never actually hear that when you were shooting or feel it if you're doing a normal trigger throw, but it is unusual. It went away, and apparently it goes away on all pistols eventually. You can see it's no longer in this gun. This gun's a little over 1,000 rounds, but it's been gone for well over 1,000 rounds. Let's see. Other than that, this pistol has been perfect. The sights, some people complain. There's a friend of mine who's on M4 carbine. He has the exact same pistol. My pistol came with the number 6 front sight, and I believe his did too. His shot a little low. I actually like Now, I may be the wrong person to talk to about this, but I actually use my front sight almost as an aim point. I like that where the bullet hits behind the dot. His may have been hitting a little lower than that, but for me, I like that. I like to just put my dot on front of the target and focus on the front sight and pull the trigger. Your mileage may vary, but this gun was sighted in the way I like it. So out of the box, I was pretty happy with it, and I have no intention of replacing the sights. This gun cost about $670. Came with 2 mags, a plastic outside the waistband holster, paddle type holster. Came with night sights. It's a real good value. It would probably cost you a little bit more to get a Glock with night sights, say a Glock 19 or something like that. And this gun, in my estimation, has a little bit better feature set than the Glock. Besides the fact that I will tell you this, ejection with this gun is perfect. Right from the beginning, and I've seen this other 320 fire. The ejection is to the right, and it comes out briskly. There's no flying in your face. There's no rainbow. It basically, from the very beginning, has extracted. There's no brass to face with this gun, is what I'm trying to say. And that's a nice thing. I mean, that's something that I think all manufacturers, for example, Heckler & Koch and Beretta and all these other people seem to be able to do. And I don't understand why some people don't seem to be able to work through that. But the good news is, when I first got this gun, I looked through it. The parts quality seemed very high. I know a lot of people are complaining that SIG apparently gets parts from Israel and India. But, you know, I mean, it's a gun. I don't really care where the components are from as long as it seems to be put together well. Very clean machining. All the parts seem to be well manufactured. You can see here now that I'm over 1,000 rounds. Now, I do a lot of magazine changes. You'll see here it's already starting to erode the back here. That's because I do a lot of what are called 6.66 drills. Essentially, you fire 3 shots. You could draw from concealment, fire 3 shots to slide lock. You eject the magazine and load in another. And so these magazines are getting dropped a lot. I mean, basically, you know, they're either getting dropped at with 6 rounds or they're getting dropped at 3 rounds. They rarely go any higher than that, except when I'm doing where I'm shooting at the plates at long range. So these mags are getting a lot of use. The magazine releases are getting a lot of use. So that may be a failure point too, because it's getting a lot of practice. My suspicion is it'll take me about a year to break anything on it. So this may be boring to some of you. It may be interesting to you. All right, if anybody's got any comments or anything that you think I should do, I will say that I've been asking people how often you think I should clean it. My inclination now is to go somewhere in between 500 and 1,000 rounds, but if you have any thoughts on that, I will say I'm not going to not clean it for 10,000 rounds or anything like that, because I don't find that to be a particularly useful data point. I really want the gun to be functioning appropriately. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect conditions, but I want it to be under the conditions that the factory intended. So if you have any comments or any suggestions, please comment or send me an email. Thank you very much.